is the Fade 5 Podcast with Brad Evans and Nate Lundy.
Place your bets, you jackwagons. Brad the Big Noise Evans here, joined by the good son of Daniel Lundy. Tis indeed the Fade 5 Podcast presented by Suavecito Tequila. Go out and grab some beloved juice tonight at Total Wine and More. And good Lord, I needed a full bottle on the late night tip. Long Beach State.
Suck it,
bloody hell. What the hell? Oh, that sucked.
Brad, remember what I said on the show yesterday? What did I tell you? That I'd had 5 multi-leg parlays that had missed by one. Yeah.
That happened to me last night. Long Beach. I went to bed. I fell asleep.
5.5.
They were up 5.5, and then they gave up 54 points to a Cal Poly team that was 300 plus, according to all the advanced analytics sites out there. Unfathomable. They are dead to me. Never again, Long Beach State.
Brad, that was the 10th leg of a 10-legger.
Oh, that's brutal.
10.
Oh, that's rough.
10.
There's always one, man. There's always one that screws you over.
Both hands. Are you looking, people? Both hands. I went to bed. They were up by 5. I knew Montana State would take care of business for me. Long Beach State against Cal Poly, who had, 7 wins on the year?
1 road win. 1 road neutral win the entire year. And they played out of their minds in the second half.
Absolutely. I woke up this morning and just went, you know what? You're dead to me, Long Beach State. You're dead to me.
Exactly,
I will never, ever. I don't even think you're a legitimate university anymore. I don't. I think you are a glorified elementary school. You can just go suck it.
Well, I think Snoop Dogg has disowned them, and for good reason. So forevermore, Long Beach State will not be picked on this show, but we march on through the madness. But before we get to the college basketball slate today, and it's an exciting one, it's a hockey hump day here on the pod. Let's go to the National Hockey League, something that Lundy knows a lot about. Let's drop the puck and make some bucks. What do you got for me on this hockey hump day, Lundy?
Bitter party of one. That's how I'm doing right now, Brad. Let's go to the Pacific Northwest, shall we? Let's go all the way up to America's hat and find ourselves in Vancouver, BC, where the Anaheim Ducks, I see that. The Anaheim Ducks will be taking on the Vancouver Canucks. Kind of rhymes. If you're talking about Snoop, he could probably find a way to rhyme those two together. These two teams combine to allow the most goals per game in the National Hockey League. So the total is sitting at 6.5. I will play the over, as I believe goals will be aplenty up in Canuckville this evening. I think it's Rogers Arena that they play at. Basically everything in Canada is named after Rogers. Not Mr., but everything is Rogers. Rogers Center, Rogers Arena, Rogers Circle, Rogers Stadium. Everything is named after Rogers. So we shall take the over between the Ducks and the Canucks. Sits at 6.5. It's juiced up slightly at BetMGM. That's where I found the best odds for it as of tape time here this morning at a -125. So you got to pay a little bit of juice. But again, nobody in the National Hockey League gives up more goals than these two teams. They rank right at the bottom of the standings. So I do think we're going to see a lot of scoring tonight. Grab that one. I'll have some more hockey for you in bonus time.
All right, put those slap shots in the net. And with that already on the board, let's get after it here on this Hump Day edition of the pod with another Fade 5.
Number 5.
All right, let's go to the Big 12 conference tournament. A bunch of behemoth matchups in this league because the league is incredibly good from top to bottom. The best conference in the land. It is indisputable. Sorry, Big Ten fans. Sorry, SEC folks. But really, there's no contest. And this one is going to be one hell of a contest. We got West Virginia, who I'm going to take laying the 4 against the Texas Tech Red Raiders, -110 at DraftKings. A lot of controversy swirling around Texas Tech based on the comments of Mark Adams. Racially insensitive is the best way to really put it. He is very much on the hot seat. In fact, I think the axe is going to come down and chop the neck here very shortly. And maybe Chris Beard gets a phone call. Who the hell knows? And comes back to Lubbock. But Why not just trade in controversy for controversy there, Texas Tech? But I think this is going to have some ripple effects on their performance on the court based on what has transpired here over the last week. And I love WVU, a team that I think has really squarely played their way into the NCAA tournament, no matter what happens in the action tonight. The Mountaineers press Virginia. It very much applies. They force a boatload of turnovers. A team getting a turnover from the opposition over 20% of their possessions. They're number 56 in road neutral games and adjusted defensive efficiency, giving up just 34% from downtown. Meanwhile, the offensive end, number 15 in the country, and adjusted offensive efficiency in those road neutral matchups, which is 14 games in total, shooting 51.5% inside the arc and a mere 33.2% outside of it. They really crashed the glass with the best offensive rebounding teams in the country, get a ton of second chance opportunities. And I tell you what, a guy who has been white hot for them is Eric Stevenson, whether, off the bounce, driving to the hole, to the cup, or, scoring up from outside. He's seemingly making everything. I think it's going to be a 20-plus point outburst for him. You look at Texas Tech, scoring a little bit difficult for them. Number 114 in road neutral games and effective field goal percentage offense. And defensively, it's kind of shocking when I looked this up. Number 83, so somewhat lackluster at EFG defense in those road neutral games. So given all that is at stake here, really for both these teams, and given the backdrop and that dark cloud that's been hanging over Lubbock the entire week, I think WVU squeeze the Huggy Bear in this one, covers -4 against the Red Raiders, -110 at DraftKings. Lundy, fade or follow?
This is all about momentum. It's all about distractions. This is, to me, this is a pretty easy one, in my opinion. I'm not saying the Red Raiders are just going to roll over and die, but I do believe you just look at what, the fact that Texas Tech beat them in February, right? They get the season split, but then from that moment, the teams went in opposite directions in how they finished off the year. So to me, this is all about momentum with what West Virginia's got. Texas Tech with too many distractions. Don't call Chris Beard. It's all.
Don't do it, man. Don't go back to that well. It's too soon.
Yeah,
don't do it, Red Raiders.
All of that is just asking for trouble. But yeah, I like West Virginia here. I actually think West Virginia wins this one by 8+.
All right, WVU, get us off the schneid and make us some bank.
Number 4.
All right, for the Big 12 to the Big East, and a matchup that doesn't have as much clout as the one we mentioned here, number 5 on the Fade 5. Numero Quattro, though, on the board today. I like Butler, +6.5 against St. John's, -110 at BetMGM. Both these teams really the dregs of the keg of the league, but you look at Butler, a team that, yes, in road neutral games, number 322 in effective field goal percentage offense. Yikes. But getting it done and clamping down defensively in those matchups, number 34 in adjusted defensive efficiency, giving up just 0.954 points per possession. St. John's and their 14 road neutral matchups this season, north of 215 in EFG offense and EFG defense. And most extraordinary, number 328 in 3-point percentage D. So if Harris, Lacocious, I should say, if Hunter and those guys can really square up outside, get the puppy set, and drill those open threes, I think Butler may not just cover, they may score you a winner on the money line at +195. Pull this from BetMGM -110. So for the sake of fade or follow, Lundy, just the spread, the Bulldogs, roof, plus the 6.5. Do they earn their pepperoni? Fade or follow?
I'll follow on this one, but I'll also say I kind of like I like the concept here of taking an OGP, bumping Butler up, and then bumping the total up and playing the under. Butler, I think, was over in their last game, but prior to that, they'd been under in like 9 or 10 in a row, 9 times. So it just consistently hitting the under. So I wouldn't mind the idea of an alt line here, either an OGP to alt line it, or maybe taking Butler up to 9.5 or maybe 10.5 and pairing it together with another underdog that I like. You and I were talking about that off air yesterday with some of these games, that it really has turned into Instead of trying to bring the spread down for the favorite, you're almost better off to bump the spread up in the underdog with some of these conference tournaments. So I think this could be, I like this one with Butler plus the 6.5. I actually like it by itself, but it might make a really good alt line or a really good OGP to go with the total.
Come on, Bulldogs, pack some bite.
Number 3.
All right, numero treys here on the Fade 5 podcast. Oh, look at that. Lundy just threw out there, you should take the underdog up and an SGP/OGP. Find what favorite side you like on the total. Adjust that line and try to get it to plus money. That's exactly what I did with this play. Give me the Wyoming Cowboys plus a 12.5. And I also going to take the over on a reduced line of 142.5. They're taking on the New Mexico Lobos, who have been oh so generous defensively this season and can really put a lot of points up on the board there with that dynamic backcourt of Jamal Mastering Jr. and Jalen House. So the reason why I like Wyo here, yes, Wyoming just 2-13 straight up in road neutral games this season. And in those contests, though, the underneath analytics, not as bad as you think, at least on the offensive side. Number 56 in EFG offense in those games, but number 321, an effective field goal percentage defense, a team that is struggling getting out and challenging shots along the arc. But they did play this team tough in the regular season. They lost by un punto, 76-75, won the matchups. And in the second matchup, they beat them up. They won 70-56 over the Lobos, and that came late in the season, really sunk, I think, New Mexico's chances of earning an at-large on Selection Sunday. You look at New Mexico, a very good offensive team, as I mentioned. Number 28 EFG offense in road neutral games, but number 166 in EFG defense. You know that Hunter Maldonado is one of my favorite players in college basketball, very much like Penn State's Jalen Pickett, a guy that backs you down, a larger than you think point guard. I know Pickett is more of a point forward, but he can beat you inside, can beat you outside, and he has got crisp passing skills, and I think that is going to be showcased in this game against, again, a New Mexico team that rolls out the red carpet defensively for the opposition. So, Lundy, fade or follow on this SGP, and please come with me. Wild plus 12.5 and the over 142.5. Even Steven money at DraftKings plus 100.
This follows the rules. The rules we were just talking about. Take the underdog. Take the points up. Find the total wherever you like it. In this case, you're talking about a Lobos team that is very ole at times when it comes to the defense, and I think Wyoming should be able to take advantage of that. Wyo's not going to make a whole lot of splashes in this particular Mountain West tournament. Unfortunately, very disappointing year for Wyoming after being such a hot commodity for us on this here podcast last year. But I really like this one. Again, it follows the rules. Adjust these spreads, adjust the totals on an OGP until you get to plus odds, and then sit down and cash your ticket.
Cock, lock, and load the Cowboys on the SGP.
Number 2.
All right, let's go to the Big Ten. That tourney getting underway. We're in the same location I'm at, not in this interrogation room, but outside of it in the United Center in the house that MJ built. We have Nebraska taking on Minnesota. I'm going to lay the chalk with the Huskers here, which is a minus 5.5. Best line in the industry, minus 110 at FanDuel. You look at Nebraska, man, they've been playing great basketball here down the stretch. Since February 5th, they are number 55, according to Bart Torvik's advanced analytics, overall efficiency numbers on that side. During that stretch, number 14 in EFG offense in the country, blistering the nets at a 59.1% clip inside the arc, and they're shooting 44.2% outside of it. Again, in those matchups since early February, defensively, overly leaky, unforgiving, number 302, or forgiving, I should say, and 3-point percentage D in particular. But it's all about Keisei Tominaga. The Japanese import were the best sharpshooters in the Big Ten, really in all of college basketball. And you look as well at Minnesota. They're 2-10 in road neutral games this season. In those matchups, number 216 EFG offense, number 256 in EFG defense, and most importantly, number 332 in three-point percentage D. Tominaga is a showman. He loves, to have his demonstrative celebrations after every shot that he makes. I think he's going to can at least 3 or 4 threes tonight inside the UC and channel that basketball ghost of Michael Jordan, again, with the Jordan statue there in the atrium of the United Center. It's a perfect backdrop, and Tominaga is going to be super excited tonight as Nebraska, one of the most dangerous teams, I feel, in this Big Ten tournament, handles business against the Golden Gophers, who have been god-awful this entire year. So fade or follow, Nebraska -5.5 against Minnesota, -110 at FanDuel.
I'm a fan of this one. I just did it. Just kind of Minnesota just sort of was like, meh. Is our season done? Are we done yet? Are we done yet? Are we done yet? Besides, if you're going to Lincoln right now, somebody's got to carry the torch for that damn athletic department, because God knows it's not the football team. So it's time for the basketball team to be able to step up. I will take it. I like this one a lot. Lay the 5.5, and let's go husk some corn, shall we?
No doubt about it. Konnichiwa with Tominaga and friends.
Number 1.
All right. Naturally, I'm a big fan of the Big Ten, and I'm a big fan of this particular piece of action. Wisconsin on the money line went straight up tonight against the Ohio State in the other opening round game of this tournament inside the United Center. It's a plus money, +110 at DraftKings. And I had to do a double or triple take when I saw this last night. If you want on the line, it's +2.5 right now at DraftKings and Caesars and a couple other books. But I think Wisconsin's taking the sucker straight up because they have to. There is no wiggle room for them in the at-large conversation. They win, they still stay alive in those discussions inside the selection committee room in Indianapolis. If they lose, they're out. They're going to the NIT, period, end of story. So there's a lot on the line. I know Ohio State has played much better here their last 3 games, but you look at Wisconsin, they're 8-7 road neutral matchups this season. The offense has been unsightly, candidly. Number 250 in EFG offense in those games, shooting just 47.6% inside the arc, 32% outside of it. But the calling card of Wisconsin is defense, and they're number 13, those road neutral matchups, and adjusted defensive efficiency, giving up to 0.926 points per possession. They won in their only matchup between these two teams in Columbus. Wisconsin won 65-60 in that one. And Tyler Wall, I think is going to be a key player in this game because I don't think Zed Key is going to go. He's had some shoulder issues, and if he does gut it out, he's going to be less than 100% for Brutus Buckeye, who was 3-12 in road neutral games this season. Very good offensively, believe it or not. Number 11 in the nation, those road neutral matchups, and adjusted offensive efficiency, number 182 in adjusted defense efficiency, and they've been bad on the glass. So crash the boards, Wisconsin. Chucky Hepburn makes some timely shots, especially from way downtown, and I think they will survive for another round and also stay alive and kicking as well in the at-large conversations for the NCAA tournament. So fade or follow Bucky Badger on the money line against Ohio State, +110 at DraftKings.
Every time you do that voice, I want to puke. So whatever you just said is fine with me. I'm serious. Whatever. I mean, look, they're desperate, and you're doing bad voiceover. It's weird. It's weird, dude. It's like I can't tell if it's a cartoon character. I can't tell if it's if we're reliving the movie Fargo. I think I'm gonna barf.
Oh, yeah, that's about right.
I don't know where we are when that voice happens. So what happens for me is I'm okay with this, but eventually we're going to need Wisconsin to get bounced from the tournament so that you'll stop doing that.
I can't. The Wisconsin accent is strong.
Now I'm rooting against them just because I'm over it. I'm just you and your voices. It's weird, dude. It's weird.
All right. Well, Lundy's got a fade because he hates my impersonations of the Wisconsin Badgers. I say
right there it was again.
Make some bucks with those Badgers. All right. With that on the board, let's go ahead and shift gears. It's bonus time, Lundy. What else you got on the slate on this Hump Day?
First of all, let me stay with the college hoops for just a moment. Give me Oklahoma State just straight on the money line against Oklahoma.
Oh, interesting.
The Cowboys are a better rebounding team. I think they're going to dominate the glass. They're number either 2 or 3 in the Big 12 in rebounding. I think they're going to limit second chance opportunities for Boomer. And I think because of that, I will just take Oklahoma State straight up on the money line. I think, again, this is all going to come down to rebounding. And the Cowboys are just better at it, frankly, than the Sooners are. And I think that's going to limit them. So I look later tonight for Oklahoma State to just take that one on the money line. Let me go to the professional National Basketball Association, shall we? The Chicago Bulls are on the road, obviously.
Bulls!
They're on the road, obviously, because the Big Ten tournament taking place on the other side of the wall from that dungeon you're sitting in right now. And they are here in Denver to take on the Nuggets. So got a couple of plays in this one for you. First and foremost, there is the automatic play that we do. What is it, folks? Jokic for a triple-double, Nuggets on the money line. You put those two together right now across a couple of the books. You can get it at a plus 105. Plus 110 kind of depends, but you will get into positive territory if you pop those two together. Denver's favored by 8.5, which is why it's not as strong of a payout as we've had on some of the other games. But again, I think more than likely Jokic is going to be sitting with like 7-7-7, like the slot machine around halftime. Then you lock and load. He's done late in the third, early in the fourth. They sit his butt down, but he's got his triple double. I also like the under in this game, by the way. It opened at 230. It is down to 226.5. That's how much it's getting hammered. But that is because the Bulls only score about 109 points per game on the road. And I'm not sure, with the way Denver's been playing defense right now, I'm not even sure Chicago is going to get to that number tonight. I think they may be lucky to get to 100 or 102 points against Denver tonight at Ball Arena. So I'm taking the under in that game. Again, it's come skyrocketing down from where it opened. I got it at 228.5. It's now down to 226.5. And then a one-game parlay in that contest. Again, it's in my backyard. That's why I'm betting so much. It's like Brad with the Big Ten. It's all about, we're taking Denver on the money line. All right. Then I need 2 made threes out of each of these guys. Give me Zach LaVine, who's done it in 5 out of his last 6, and in fact is shooting a blistering 54% from outside the arc in his last 3 games. So I need 2 out of LaVine. I need 2 out of Jamal Murray. He's done that in 10 out of his last 11. And then I need 2 out of Michael Porter Jr. He has done that in 15 of his last 16 games. If you put all that together in a one-game parlay over at BetMGM, it is a plus 150. And then we go back to the ice. I'm talking about that Vancouver and Ducks game that I told you that I really like the over in. So with that in mind, give me Trevor Zegras of the Anaheim Ducks to have a point. That's all we need, as Brad would say, un punto. He's got 8 points in 4 career games against Vancouver. I'm no math major, but that's at least 2 points a game. Then we're going to go to Kyle Connor of Winnipeg. The Jets are at home against the Minnesota Wild. Give me a point for Kyle Connor as well. He's done it in 3 out of his last 4, and he's had a point in both of the matchups that he had earlier this season against Minnesota. If we put both of those together at DraftKings, each of them for a point, Trevor Zegras, Kyle Connor, plus 145. I will have more plays. It'll be up on the spreadsheet. Screw you, Long Beach State.
Yeah, I'm still bitter about the stupid beach as well, but we're going to make some buckaroos and hopefully dig ourselves out of the hole right now. And the best way to do it is with a parlay play. It's all about Team Wamos. And yeah, Long Beach screwed this up yesterday. We hit the other 3 legs, but we get back in that saddle. Give me West Virginia on
9 out of 10, you sons of bitches.
Yeah, it still hurts. It really does. Quite painful, but WVU, for all the reasons I mentioned earlier, give me NC State in their opening matchup in the ACC tournament. Give me Grambling, number 7 in the country in EFG percentage defense. They're taking on Bethune-Cookman. And then give me Montana State in the Big Sky. I don't think they cover tonight against Northern Arizona. They're laying 7.5. I would actually play Northern Arizona plus the points there, but I think Montana State's going to creep by and win this sucker straight up. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, mi amigos, plus 351 with the parlay boost at DraftKings. Get seduced by that juice, and that is very juicy. to say the least. Elsewhere here in bonus time, I like Washington State on an SGP/OGP. I took it down to minus 9.5 against Cal. And I took the total down to just 118.5 and took the over, and that's plus 105. Do you need any reason to fade Cal? No, you really don't, because they're the worst high major Power 6 team in the country. That's not just my opinion. That is what the numbers bear out. They're miserable, north of 300 in so many freaking categories on both sides of the floor. And Washington State has won 6 straight games, and they're a prolific three-point shooting team. So hopefully they're going to be splashy from outside, again, against one of the worst teams in college basketball, the high major level. Another total that I like, and it's been tumbling down, and I'll give you the reasons why. I took the under in Georgia Tech and Pitt. I grab it at 143.5. I think it is down now to like 139.5 at most of the books, and it makes a ton of sense. And it could go still under that 139.5 number. And the reason being is very simple. The first 2 games, 63 possessions and 61 possessions. It was a bit of a slog, no doubt about it. And on top of that, you look at the last matchup, well, you say, Brad, that game went over this total, but both teams shot lights out in that contest. Pitt was 1.11 points per possession. Georgia Tech was 1.25 points per possession. That was kind of uncharacteristic of how these teams have played the entire year, and they're both north of 185 at adjusted tempo. So I still like the under, as that number has come, again, crawling down throughout the morning here across the sports books in Georgia Tech and in Pittsburgh. Then, Lundy, I'm going to go back to that Oklahoma State game for a second. I actually like Oklahoma on an SGP. I'm going to take that line up to plus. Well, I'll explain why. Plus 6.5. We both could win on this. And I'm going to take the under on an all total of 142.5. I know Oklahoma State crushed them in the regular season. They won very handily, 72-56 and 71-61, right? But here is the upside for Oklahoma. You look at the underneath numbers in road neutral games. This team is number 61 effective offense, or effective field goal percentage offense, and number 60 in EFG defense. So they've been very balanced across the board. I understand Musa Cisse and Oklahoma State are going to have a distinct advantage on the glass. The numbers bear that out. But I think Oklahoma is better than advertised, and you know how difficult it is to take down a team for a third time. So in a neutral court environment, I think OSU wins, but I think they're only going to win by like 2 to 4 points. So again, building safety first, that line up to plus 6.5. And in what should be a low-scoring affair, give me the under 142.5. That's even money, plus 100 at BetMGM. All right, I am out of time, and so is Mr. Lundy.
And later tonight, so will Oregon State. They will be out of time as well.
Well, just fade the Beavers.
They'll be toast.
If you're chasing, just bet against Oregon State and make all your money back, hopefully.
Well, the problem is ASU is a minus 690 on the money line. So you
minus 10. Take them on the spread. ASU has to win to keep themselves in the at-large conversation.
They're minus 11. By the way, if you want some afternoon delight, I'm slightly drunk with this pick, but I think CU is going to cover against Washington. Take the Buffs minus 2.5. CU was 9-9 against the spread in conference play, but 4 of those covers have happened in the last 5 games.
Interesting.
So all of a sudden, CU's playing better against the spread in the last 5 games. So I'm going to take them to make it to the second round. I don't think Tad Boyle and company are going very far this year, but I do think they can beat UW. That's an afternoon game. I want to say it's at about maybe 3:30 or 4 o'clock Eastern, something like that.
Oh, twist my arm, Lundy. You convinced me. I'll add that to the spreadsheet as well. So roll Tad, go Buffs, and actually show up for once. Again, you beat Tennessee on the road. For God's sakes.
I'm telling you, they're just looking ahead to next year. His recruiting class next year is so good. It's insane, dude. It's so good.
Well, hopefully they're going to finish on a high note, at least for today for us. We are out of time, though, on the Fade 5 podcast presented by Suavecita. Go pick up a bottle of Love Juice right now at Total Wine & More. Also, drop us a rating and a review if you enjoy this broadcast. Fade or follow us on the Twitter. On Lundy, you can follow at Nate Lundy, all his free spreadsheet picks there. I do the exact same damn thing at Noisy Huevos. Unfortunately, not making any money to buy huevos, which are really expensive right now. Stupid inflation. With that, as always, until next time, fade or follow. That is up to you.